a discussion about National Forest Products Month, and joining us to talk about it is Kat McMichael. She is with Oregon Women in Timber, the Lane County chapter. She joins us on the wake-up call, and Oregon Women in Timber is a statewide nonprofit that's dedicated to creating awareness of the importance of forests, trees, and wood products in our daily lives. Welcome to the show, Kat.
Thank you so much. You actually have two of us. You've got, so my name's Kate and my other half, Teresa. We're part of the leadership team of the Lane County chapter, and we're really happy to have an opportunity to talk to you this morning.
Okay, so is Teresa kind of like Madonna and just goes by one name?
Actually, we'll both go by one name. Most of us go at, Kate and Teresa. That works out great.
Okay, Kate and Teresa. Well, it's great to have you both on here. Now, Kate, my understanding is, and if you can talk about this for a little bit, that you actually lived up in the footprint of the Holiday Farm Fire, and it took your home out, correct?
Actually, we live in our property is in the footprint of the Holiday Farm Fire. We were in the process of building when the fire came through. So what it really took out was our retirement investment. It took out our forest, but it did really highlight for us the importance of wood products in all of our lives, both the fact that, we needed to rebuild, and we've seen a lot of wood on our property to do that rebuilding, a lot of wood products on the properties of folks up and down the Mackenzie as they rebuild. And then we were able to salvage a very small portion of our property, and we've spent a lot of time hoping that some of our trees became lumber that helped rebuild other people's homes that were lost to the fires.
So on your private property, at least, you were able to salvage some of those trees?
A few of them. They were really young, so they were early to be salvaged, but we were able to salvage a portion.
And we needed to do that because they were just big enough that nobody would have felt safe going in to do interplanting.
And we wanted to reforest because we bought a forest, and not living in a forest is pretty sad.
Yeah. Well, particularly if you wanted to retire there, of course.
Yeah.
Talk a little bit about Oregon. Oregon Women in Timber. You guys are promoting National Forest Products Month. What is the gist of National Forest Products Month?
Our daily lives are filled with wood products, and here in Oregon, we're fortunate to have forest practice rules that mean that our forests are managed sustainably so that we can harvest these wood products that we need and still have forests that continues to do all the good things, all the carbon sequestration, all the carbon storage, all the habitat, all the protection of our waterways, and yet can also continue to become forest products. And so that's our big one that I doubt many of us get through a day without using a wood product. I mean, I've used toilet paper this morning, not to get...
Well, that's good to know.
Yeah, not to get too graphic.
But National Forest Products Month has been around since 1960. What we do with Oregon Women in Timber is we extend that to the entire month, because especially as T was just saying, in Oregon, we are so blessed with an amazing array of forests and forest products. And so it feels like we need to know more about them and celebrate them more and celebrate the people who make them possible, from the folks who manage the forests to the folks who harvest trees to the folks who transform those trees into lumber and paper and all of the different things that we use as wood products every day.
Well, I will ask you one thing, Kate.
Mm-hmm.
It seems like that the state of Oregon, and particularly its leadership, have really tried to do everything they can to stop the usage and the harvesting of trees here in Oregon, to the point where, their policies have really led to some of these huge mega fires that we've been dealing with over the course of the last 5 years.
It is certainly a concern that our lack, maybe for the lack of a better word, of forest management has not helped us in terms of being able to have less catastrophic fire on the landscape.
It's also difficult in Oregon because we're such a checkerboard of types of land ownership. So we have our little 39-acre plot, and we have our management objectives, and then we have borders with a lot of other individuals that have 40 to 120 acre plots, and then we all neighbor BLM, who has a much bigger area and their management objectives, and we're close to Weyerhaeuser and Justina, who have their management objectives. So in terms of managing for fire, that's a lot of people to get on board. In terms of management in general, it's tough because that's a lot of different individuals dealing with something that's kind of a landscape issue.
Yeah, I would think, that pardon me for saying this, I would almost think that some of these so-called public lands, if I had, 40 acres of forest land, I would almost see them as being kind of a bad neighbor because they're not going in, doing the necessary things to thin, they're not doing the necessary things to clean out the brush, they're not taking down the previous burn scar, and burn trees and the like, which just create tinder the next time that a fire rolls through. I would be concerned about them as much as taking care of my own property because they're putting my property at risk.
Actually, that's exactly what one of our stewardship foresters said, not specific to federal lands, but that, you can only control what you do on your property. And unfortunately, you have no control over what your neighbors do. We have no control over what the public does when they're out on the landscape as well, in terms of bringing more fire that we don't need or fire starts to the landscape. So it's a tough issue, the concerns about fire. And, we actually came out of California. And so we're really aware that even though West Side fires have been more rare in Oregon's history, they tend to be catastrophic. And, we're not buying into we've had our big fire, because we do look around and see how much tinder is still on the landscape. Both in terms of trees that have been left behind, but also in terms of all of the invasives that are coming in very happily. They really enjoyed our wet spring, and they're a fire hazard as well.
It seems like go ahead.
No, go ahead and finish your thought there.
It seems that we need to be able to have conversations, because there's a lot of shouting back and forth, and I think the process of coming to an agreement on the private forest accord, and of course there are issues within that agreement, but there was a process where people who may not have had a lot in common were able to stay around a table. And we need to do that neighbor to neighbor. We need to be able to do that group to group. We need to not let the loudest shouting be what carries the day, but what does science show us, what are the needs of the society, both for wild places and for wood products. And I don't know how we get there, but for us, some of the neighbor to neighbor stuff and, you know, certainly some of the events that OWIT hosts are part of that.
Okay. We got to wrap it up. We've got another guest lined up. For folks that want more information about what you do, which is Oregon Women in Timber and National Forest Products Month, where do they go? What do they do in terms of going online?
Our website is ORWIT, so orwit.org. Check out the website, a lot of great information there. Sign up for our newsletter. Check us out on Facebook and Instagram. We would love to invite anyone to participate in celebrating forest products.
All right, sounds good. Kate, Teresa, thanks for being with us on the wake-up call this morning. Oregon Women in Timber, I don't know why that is so hard to say. The Lane County chapter, thanks again. You take care.
All right,
Okay,
thanks, you too.
Bye.